Let's start with Alabama. Being a Bama fan is less of a hobby and more of a personality trait. Yeah, they're the SEC's final boss, confident to the point of being unbearable, and always within 10 seconds of reminding you how many national championships they've got. 18, 27. Depends how far back in the history books they're willing to go. And they always go back.
They brag about Saban,
About Bear, about that one time they beat Georgia in a title game twice. They're the Yankees of college football, but with more houndstooth. And everyone else hates them for it. The arrogance, the entitlement, the way they treat a close win over Ole Miss like a sign of the apocalypse. But here's the twist. Before Saban came to town, Alabama spent a solid decade in coaching purgatory. They were basically Nebraska with better recruiting. And let's be real, if your coach had a statue before he retired, you'd act the same way. Roll Tide and roll eyes. Hog fans are a different breed. They're passionate, loyal, and always one cold beer away from calling the Hogs at a funeral. They'll show up to a tailgate in the middle of a Category 3 hurricane just to see if KJ Jefferson can throw a deep ball. What do they brag about?
Darren McFadden, babe.
That's the holy grail. They'll tell you he should have won the Heisman twice and could have played linebacker if he felt like it. They swear Fayetteville has the best food, the best fans, and the best vibe in the SEC, and they say it with a straight face. Other fans? They hate the yearly September delusion. Arkansas starts 3 and suddenly they're talking SEC title like it's 1964 again. By mid-October, it's fire the coach season, and by December, they're blaming everything from the refs to moon phases. The sad truth? They left the old Southwest Conference, hoping to level up, and instead became the lovable underdog in a league full of sharks. But give them this. No fan base rides harder for a 6-6 season, and no one celebrates a Liberty Bowl win like it's Mardi Gras in Little Rock. Let's take a look at Missouri. They're fans. They're the exchange students of the SEC. They're polite. They show up. They bring decent chili to the tailgate. And then they quietly sneak out before anyone notices. They don't hate anybody, but somehow everyone hates them. Still, they'll remind you, usually very calmly, that they made it to the SEC title game twice, before A&M even won the West. And hey, they're not wrong. But the rest of the conference still acts like they're crashing the party. Mizzou doesn't bring a natural rival. They don't have a massive fan base, and their biggest football moment in the SEC is getting flattened by Auburn on national TV. The irony? They joined the conference for financial stability. They sneak up and beat Florida or ruin someone's Saturday. Just enough to remind you they're still here. Bowl fans are college football's version of the friend who peaked in high school and knows it, but still tells the stories anyway. Loud, loyal, and living in a time loop, set permanently to 1998. Every August is "This is the year," and by Halloween it's "How do we still not have an offensive line?" They'll brag about the '98 title, about Peyton Manning, who, let's be honest, never actually won them anything.
And about Neyland Stadium
Being one of the loudest spots in America. And when it's rocking, they're right. But other fans can't stand the roller coaster. Every loss is blamed on SEC conspiracies. Every win is a return to glory. The embarrassing truth? They've been through more head coaches than Marvel's had Spider-Man. And until 2022, they hadn't beaten Alabama since flip phones were still a thing. But still, when Rocky Top is playing and that orange checkerboard is bouncing, it feels like college football again. Florida fans are the Gators of chaos, loud, cocky, and always one drink away from yelling, "08 Tim Tebow would have beat the Chiefs." Their stereotype is simple. They think they invented swag in the 90s, revolutionized the sport in the 2000s, and are somehow still in that era. They brag constantly about the Spurrier years, about Urban and Tebow, and about how they were the first SEC team to really embrace high-octane modern football. You'll hear "speed kills people" more than once in Gainesville. And yes, that sentence is doing a lot of work. But other fans, they hate the entitlement. Gator Nation walks into every season like it's their birthright to win the East. and every loss is either a coaching betrayal or divine punishment. The embarrassing truth? Since Urban Meyer left, Florida's had more midlife crises than a divorced dad with a new Camaro. For every 10-3 blip of hope, there's a 5-7 collapse and a quarterback with accuracy issues that could legally be classified as a hazard. But when the swamp is full and the band hits that first note of "We Are the Boys," yeah, it still feels dangerous. Georgia fans, on the other hand, are finally living the dream. And they want you to know how long they waited for it. They brag, and rightfully so, about back-to-back natties, elite recruiting, and the fact that Atlanta is basically just UGA's extended campus. What do other fans hate? The smugness, the Twitter mob, the way Georgia went from "we always choke" to "you peasants should be grateful we let you score." But here's the irony. For 4 decades, Georgia was the underachiever, all bark, no bite. The Mark Richt years were a masterclass in 10-win frustration. They were cursed with talent and trapped in SEC purgatory. Now they're the Death Star, and everyone else is the Rebel Alliance. Kentucky fans are in a weird spot. They're basketball royalty trying to cosplay as football believers. The stereotype? Polite, plaid-wearing, and just happy to be included. Until October hits, and they suddenly think they're SEC East contenders. They'll brag about Mark Stoops like he's Bear Bryant 2.0, about their physical style, and about being the team no one wants to play in November. And you know what? They're not wrong. Kentucky is tough, well-coached, and annoyingly competitive. But other fan bases roll their eyes at the constant moral victories. Like, congrats on that 17-13 win over South Carolina. The historical irony? For most of their existence, Kentucky football was a tailgate appetizer before basketball season. Now, they've flipped the script enough that Big Blue Nation actually cares about Saturdays in October. Still, for a school where football used to be background noise, this glow-up is impressive. Then there's LSU, the drunk uncles of college football, their stereotype, Cajun chaos. They're either winning a national title, firing their coach mid-season, or eating a live gator on Bourbon Street. And there is no in-between. What do they brag about? Everything? Joe Burrow, the 2019 team. Death Valley at night. The band, the food, the tailgates, the voodoo. The fact that LSU doesn't just win, they swamp you. But every other fan base hates the madness. The way every LSU fan thinks their backup freshman QB is the next Burrow. The absolute refusal to do anything quietly. The truth? No program rides the chaos wave harder. Their 2019 season might be the greatest in college football history. And yet 2 years later, they were getting cooked by UCLA and holding coaching interviews in the middle of a Chili's. But here's the thing. Nobody does pageantry and passion quite like LSU. Ole Miss fans are the Southern aristocrats of the SEC, part tailgate society, part therapy group. They dress like they're going to a wedding, drink like they're at a funeral, and lose games like it's a family tradition. The stereotype? Fancy, fragile, and always just one heartbreak away from quoting Faulkner. They brag about the Grove, and to be fair, it's incredible. No grills, no tents, just chandeliers, bourbon, and seersucker suits. They'll bring up Eli Manning, Sugar Bowls, and Lane Kiffin like it's proof of divine favor. Every time Ole Miss goes 7-1, the fan base starts whispering about destiny, and then immediately gets waxed by Alabama and loses to Arkansas in the fog. The embarrassing truth? For all the class and cash, they've never even appeared in an SEC championship game. For a brief, glorious moment, you almost believe it's finally their year. Mississippi State fans are the exact opposite. No pageantry, no illusions, just cowbells and grit. The stereotype is blue-collar, slightly bitter, and fiercely loyal. They don't try to impress you. They just want to beat you. They brag about the Dak Prescott era. And they love reminding you they were the first ever #1 team in the college football playoff rankings. Even if it only lasted 2 weeks. Other fans hate the cowbells. And by hate, we mean loathe. It's like being stuck in a stadium with 50,000 malfunctioning hotel decibels. The embarrassing truth? State's entire football identity is we're not Ole Miss. They live for the Egg Bowl, and if they win it, the season's a success, no matter what else happened. But you've got to respect it. In a conference filled with ego and entitlement, Mississippi State fans show up with low expectations, ring the hell out of that bell, and leave with their dignity intact. Sometimes muddy, sometimes disappointed, but always faithful. South Carolina fans are the SEC's great paradox, loud, loyal, and perpetually heartbroken. The stereotype? Big crowds, big dreams, and a vibe that feels one emotional win away from national relevance. They brag about Williams-Brice being underrated, about Sandstorm giving teams nightmares, and about Clowney's hit in the Outback Bowl like it happened yesterday. But what other fans can't stand is the constant overhype. Every preseason is filled with optimism, and every November ends with a soul-crushing loss to someone they shouldn't be losing to. The embarrassing truth? They've never won the SEC, never even made it to the championship game. Steve Spurrier gave them their best years, and even he tapped out with a shrug and a golf cart. Texas A&M fans, where do we start? They're the most cultish group in the conference, and that's saying something in the SEC. The stereotype is midnight yells, whooping, and wearing overalls like it's part of the curriculum. They brag about tradition, not just any tradition, but capital T tradition. The 12th man, Réveillé, yell leaders. They'll explain it to you like it's sacred scripture, even if it makes absolutely no sense. What everyone else hates? The money, the hype. The fact that every year, A&M is the trendy pick to finally break through, and every year ends with a 4-4 conference record, and some bizarre October meltdown. The embarrassing truth. They've had top 5 facilities, top 5 recruiting classes, and still haven't won a conference title since the Big 12 was relevant. Johnny Manziel gave them one magic year, and they've been chasing that high ever since. But hey, when that stadium's full and 100,000 Aggies are whooping in sync, it's weird, it's wild, and honestly, it kinda works. Auburn fans are college football's version of controlled chaos, except the controlled part is optional. Their stereotype? Paranoid optimism. They believe in miracles, hate Alabama with a spiritual intensity, and exist in a permanent state of what now? They brag about Bo Jackson, about the kick six, and about being the only team to beat Saban consistently enough to make him blink. When Auburn's good, they're terrifying. When they're bad, they still manage to ruin someone's season. What other fans hate is the unpredictability. Auburn is a drama machine. They fire coaches who win titles. They pay buyouts like it's monopoly money. They'll go from 3-5 to upsetting Georgia in a fog game and act like nothing happened. The embarrassing truth? For all the tradition and talent, Auburn has a gift for imploding at exactly the wrong time. They're not a football program. They're a Southern fever dream. Then there's Texas, the loudest voice in every room, and I am sure it will get louder after the success they found in 2024. The stereotype? Arrogant, rich, and clinging to the past like it's made of gold. Longhorn fans think they're America's team, and they'll remind you they have their own network to prove it. They brag about Vince Young, the 2005 Rose Bowl, and the billion-dollar war chest they keep buried under DKR. What other fans can't stand is the entitlement. Texas walks into the SEC like they invented football, despite the fact they've spent the last decade losing to Kansas and burning through coaches like scented candles. The irony? For all that swagger, they haven't won a national title since George W. was still in office. But they're finally showing signs of life again. Oklahoma fans are the polar opposite, polite, proud, and somehow convinced they're underdogs. The stereotype? Quiet confidence with a dash of Big 12 PTSD. They brag reasonably or about 7 national titles, Heisman quarterbacks, and more conference championships than you can count. They've got history, swagger, and a fan base that travels like a small nation. What other SEC fans dislike is the "we'll be fine" attitude. Oklahoma rolled in acting like they're going to handle the SEC like just another batch of Baylor games. And that's not how this league works. The embarrassing truth? For all their offensive fireworks, Oklahoma's been allergic to defense since the Bush administration. And the SEC? Yeah, they noticed. That said, there's no denying the pedigree. The Sooners are built to win. And if they can survive a year or two in the wood chipper, they might just thrive. Just maybe keep the champagne on ice until you've played LSU in Baton Rouge, Vanderbilt. And finally, Vanderbilt, the SEC's academic safe word. The stereotype is wine and cheese tailgates, half-full stadiums, and a fan base that knows what tenure track means better than what 4-3 defense. Vandy fans brag about being the smartest school in the conference, about winning baseball titles, and about how Nashville is the best road trip in the SEC, which, to be fair, it is. But what other fans can't stand is the way Vandy just exists. They don't really try to win in football. They're like a moral victory with a marching band. The truth. Vandy hasn't been relevant in the SEC since rotary phones, and yet they get the same revenue share as Bama. It's like watching the kid who didn't do the group project still get an A. Still, every now and then, they wake up, beat Alabama like last season, and ruin someone's bowl eligibility. And there you have it. Every SEC fan base, roasted and respected, just the way college football intended. But don't worry, we're not done yet. The Big Ten's up next. And let's just say, we've got thoughts on khakis, cornfields, and a certain stadium that looks like a spaceship. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And as always, yell responsibly.